Well, we know that those who will be part of this whole system of engineering, etc., would have to be science students. Those science students, many of them are in school now, and those schools are also taking part in the Science and Maths quiz. We're the official channel. We've been looking at the previews. We'll be speaking to Maxwell Agbagba very soon. He will be giving us the daily update from Legon or the University of Ghana campus. That's more appropriate. We'll get to know what the latest is. When we get Maxwell on the line, we'll let you know. But thanks for all your calls as well. And we say we're grateful. But we are with you in your plight. And we know, as all of us are victims in here, because we've all experienced the flooding and keep experiencing the flooding when they happen. We're taking a break. When we come back, Maxwell Agbagba with the latest from the grounds of where the event is taking place, the recording as well as the live event of the Maths and Science quiz. Stay on. We'll be right back. Have Maxwell Agbagba now with the latest from the University of Ghana campus where we're doing the recording, and we'll get you up to speed with the latest as far as the Maths and Science quiz is concerned. And we have Maxwell Agbagba. Good morning to you, Maxwell. What's the latest?
Well, good morning to you, Roland. Roland, we are here right in front of the RS Amegashi Auditorium. So on your screens right now, behind us is the auditorium where the competition has been taking place. Yesterday, Ghana National College, Ebri Girls, and then University Practice Senior High School in Cape Coast, all of them qualified to the quarterfinals of the ongoing competition. Well, today, we are expecting some of the contests to also take place. But before we move on to what to expect today, let us just take you through what happened yesterday. Ebri Girls qualified to the quarterfinals with about 45 points. The second place school was Obuasi Senior High Technical School. They had just about 17 points. And then the third school, Ibuakwa State College, had 15 points. I have my 12 points, actually. I have my colleague here, Benjamin Tete. He's going to take us through the other contests, the results for the other contests. Benjamin.
Yes, good morning, Max, and good morning to Roland and the team in the studio. Yes, indeed. Yesterday, well, we saw Ebri Girls, as you mentioned. They become the first girls' school to go through to the next stage, which is the quarterfinals. Yeah. Sadly, the girls' schools, we saw Yasantua fumble at the other time. As for Boga Girls, they were just nowhere close at all.
Just 3 points.
Yeah, and they went out. So yeah, seeing Ebri Girls go through was, especially contesting against some of the great schools, Ibuakwa State College. You know, some of the big schools in the Eastern region. One of them, obviously, was Ibuakwa State College, and yeah, they beat them.
But I mean, if you look at the points that Ibuakwa State College used to qualify to the 1A stage of the competition, we remember them from that contest with Chemu Senior High School.
Right.
They had 27 points.
Right.
Chemu Senior High School had 26 points.
Right.
27 points really was not too
really
impressive.
Much. That's true. Yeah. Not really much to talk about, but probably, I don't know, for some reason, some of the contests witnessed huge results. Some to somehow manage, like the one for Boga Girls, going through with 17 points in there. Of course, that was one of the poorest in terms of performance, but somehow Ibuakwa State College went through, so we're hoping that they would have put up quite a big fight. But it looks like the girls were from Ebri were just too powerful for them.
But what we did yesterday was that in our prediction, we said that Ebri Girls were the favorites. Of course, they came into this competition as a seeded school. Ibuakwa State College, they won their contest and they qualified to the next stage. And then Obuasi Senior High Technical School, they lost. They came second in that competition, but because they had high points, they were able to progress. Right. So more or less like a walk in the park also for Ebri Girls. Right. Was it the same case for Ghana National?
Well, which you mentioned the seeded schools. I don't know what it is about the seeded schools, but probably experience speaks. Like we saw so far, the schools that have qualified from the contest beginning from Monday to yesterday, so far have been the seeded schools. Exactly. Somehow, you would have thought that these other schools, rather that went through the regional contest and also came through the prelims, would have warmed up enough to meet the seeded schools boot for boot, but it's not so far going through. We saw Ghana National College. They also went through. Look at the 57 points.
57 points.
Okay, and closest was Swedru. We were hoping that somehow, it was
Pope John's was Swedru due to Pope John's, and in that contest with St. Francis Xavier, we thought that in that competition they would really prove.
The quiz mistress describes Swedru as the Dragon Slayers. At the regionals, they eliminated St. Augustine's College, and then they came in here and beat Pope John's. So obviously, people were thinking that Swedru would put up a good fight. Sadly, they ended up with 43 points, and St. Mary's boys, Lolobi, they came third with 28 points. In the third contest yesterday too, we saw University Practice. Again, a seeded school going through, and they had 45 points. Bolga girls, well, somehow, okay, not Bolga Tanga SHS, they came with 31 points. And Osechichi, sadly, Osechichi's performance was what was surprising. They did so well in the prelims, and it looks like they have quite a bit of experience, and they started quite well in the first contest. There wasn't much difference, but then along the line they fumbled and they ended with third point, 23
so
points.
That was what happened yesterday. Ghana National College, University Practice Senior High School, and then the third school, Ebri Girls, have all qualified to the quarterfinals, joining Infantipim School, KNUST, SHS, and then there's another school that has also qualified. So far we have 6 schools in the quarterfinals, together in the quarterfinals already. We are waiting for the schools that will compete today till the end of the week, and then next week Wednesday, then we have the full set for the quarterfinals. But for the contest to look out for today, yes, Ola, the third contest happening at 4 p.m. Ola Senior High School versus Adesadel College, and then the third school is Osetutu. Now this is why it's going to be a straight fight between Osetutu Senior High School and Adesadel College. Now, Adesadel College, they are coming into this competition as a finalist. From last year's contest, they were third. We know Prempeh College won, St. Thomas Aquinas came second, and then Adesadel College, they came third. So they are one of the seeded schools from the central region. And the trend that we've noticed so far is that all the schools that have qualified to the quarterfinals are all seeded schools. So far, no school from the prelims has qualified to the quarterfinals. All the schools that have qualified are seeded schools, and they're coming into this competition as a seeded school. So at this other college, you have to look out for them. But Osetutu Senior High School, yes, they topped the preliminary contest when it started, and even to date, no school, not even the seeded schools, have been able to exceed their points. Now, they qualified with 64 points from the preliminary contest, followed by Konongo Dumase with 61 points. Mind you, as we've started the 1-8 stage, no school has 64 points so far. The closest was Infantipim School. They had 60 points. After Infantipim School was Ghana National College with 57 points. So Osetutu definitely is the school to look out for in this particular contest.
That's right. But, well, if anything goes by, if we should look at the logic so far, then you don't want to underrate Adesadel for the fact that they've been there before. They've won the contest before. They've been semi-finalists in the past and even finalists and came in narrowly, losing the finals. Adesadel would definitely stand up. But, well, you don't want to throw away anything yet in terms of Ola, because Ola is also in that contest. And I'm not sure if we saw from what Sunrise did at the prelims.
You know why it's going to be just a straight fight between Adesadel and then Osetutu. Now, we watched the contest, Ola Senior High School, how they qualified to the 1-8 stage. In fact, they just had a little over 30 points. A little over 30 points. That is just like half of what Osetutu Senior High School got, 64 points. So really, if you are following the logic and then the pattern that we are seeing, it's just Adesadel College.
Remember, questions do matter. Okay, the questions do matter. What I've seen so far is probably because these are science students, I see a lot of them going for the physics questions, the chemistry questions. Biology questions are beating them a lot in this contest. If I have observed closely, I think they prepare more for the calculations. They prepare more for the formulas. And somehow they have been putting biology questions, for instance, in the background. It's clear in the performances so far. Like yesterday, several of the questions, one of them they had to even challenge and play back the video. Even with that, it still ended that the quiz mistress was right. Okay, so what is clear here is that the questions also depend in terms of the performance. So I still want to believe that the girls' school coming up, which is Ola Girls, who knows?
Well, before we wrap up, let me just chip in this. When you talk about, the questions also, being very important. Osei Tutu Senior High School, the prelims, when they had 64 points. In fact, the point gap between them and then the second place school was 40 points.
At that time, you realize that it's no contest at all. I mean, once it gets to that stage, even the Brig Girls, I think by the second, third round yesterday, it was obvious that they were going to win, and no longer they went on to win it. So sometimes you see the point difference and you calculate the remaining ones, unless the leading school wins nothing again and the other school picks all the bonuses plus their major questions. That's the only way they could even close the gap, not necessarily even overtaking. So it was obvious that the results from that level would have shown what. But later today, other contests.
So let's not get carried away by the third contest.
Let's remember this morning, Kumasi High is coming up against St. Louis SHS, another school to under game, and Armed Forces Secondary. So we have 3 contests this morning: Kumasi High School, St. Louis, and Armed Forces. And then later in the afternoon, before the Adisadel and Osei Tutu contest, we have Anglon Secondary. Anglon also did pretty much well in their contest. They came through, they won their prelims, and so they will be coming in hoping to prove a point against Sandema and another Accra school, St. John's Grammar. St. John's Grammar, somehow, they have been regular faces in the contest, but going overall to win has always been the problem, whether St. John's Grammar today. But one thing that has been beautiful.
Maxwell Agbagba there, bringing us the very latest from Legon campus, where the National Science and Maths quiz is kicking things up another gear, and the points are piling up. The schools are going home, and the fans are getting louder and louder. All of this comes to you every morning thanks to Kingdom Books, Isway Savings and Loans, Newmont Ghana Gold Limited, as well as Key Brilliant Soap.